I think writing and journaling is the most underrated tool to
Honestly,
get to know yourself, to change
honestly.
your life, to get out of your own way, okay? To get out of your own bullshit as well, right?
Mm. Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in.
I always tell people, like, when they're getting the sound, and it's so funny because it's like, on social media, we have these personalities, right? Like, I'm spicy, I'm sparky. Like, people don't even believe I'm a projector. They're like, there's no way you're a projector. I'm like, I'm a
Oh, you
projector.
are. Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Oh,
But
wow.
it's like with my clients or even in the sound baths, I'm like, get cozy, get your pillow, get your blanket. I'm like, if you fall asleep, that's amazing. You needed that rest, like, and it's like, I don't think people expect that. Like sometimes like I had a client, she's like, I fell asleep. Good. You needed that nap. Or like, that was the best sleep I've had. Good. They were struggling with sleep. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's so trippy because it's like, yes, we have to leverage social media and technology and marketing. But at the end of the day, like, especially if we're healers, like, we need to be inviting people into their rest, into their play, into doing less. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You speak a lot too about co-creating with the universe, and we're kind of touching upon it, right? And so can you delve more into that and how you teach people how to do that, how you embody it yourself? I mean, we've already seen like it happening in real time with sound healing and just leaning inward, but not a step by step, but just more of your detailed experience of how you continuously co-create with the universe. And I guess to make it even more detailed, it's bigger than just manifesting, right? Like it's more so it's a connection thing. Um, that trust, that connection that you have with yourself to then fully trust the universe to do their part. How do you flow with that and teach it to others too?
Ooh, that's a good question. Sometimes like, how do I teach that? So yeah, and I love that. It's so funny because I never use that word manifestation, right? I'm like, people teaching manifestation techniques and this and that, but I do believe I'm a master manifestor. Like but I do love that. I do think it is that co-creation, and I think it starts with your spiritual practice. So, and I know you said your people are more like, well, what does that mean? So truly, so I'll share this. That is something I have a process for. But it's like, I think co-creation starts with your spiritual practice. And you'll have people call it different things, your rising ritual, or probably the non-spiritual world calls it your morning practice.
Routine.
No, morning routine. Thank you. Morning routine,
Yeah.
Um, but spiritual practice, um, and again, the way I teach cultivating, I think it does start with building your spiritual practice. Why? Because spirituality is not like religion where it's like, do this and look to this outside entity, right? Spirituality is about cultivating a relationship with yourself, right? And I
Mhm.
always say there's so many paths. There's not just sound, there's Reiki, there's Ayurveda, there's astrology, there's food, there's 100 paths. And I always say the intention is not to be overwhelmed. The intention, again, let's go back to the play and the inner child. Follow your curiosity. What are you being guided toward? What are you being pulled toward? What do you experience? And you're like, holy shit, I need to learn more. Then go learn more, right?
Mhm.
So I do say, like, if you're listening and you're like, well, I want to build a spiritual practice, but I don't know where to start. So these are the 5 pillars that I teach my clients to bring into their spiritual practice. So the first one is your sacred space, right? And what does that mean? Environment plays a role in everything, right? Think about, channeling and co-creating. means that you are clear. It means you're the vessel, right? But if you're always consuming and you're on social media and you're doing this and if there's too much noise and chaos, there's no space for things to come in, right?
Yeah.
So your environment plays a role in everything, in how you feel and how you create. So I always tell my clients, it's so funny. Like, I really don't teach this stuff on social media, but like, step one, I'm like, clean your space, clean it, throw shit out. If things in your place do not match the identity you're stepping into, I'm like, throw it out. Get rid of it, right? When I say set up your sacred space, there are people who are going to teach you to, create an altar, do this, do that. I'm not telling you how to create that, right? I'm not telling you to build an altar, but I am telling you to have a physical manifestation in your space that you can see that reminds you that your life is spiritual, that your life is ceremony, that you do everything with intention, right? So if it looks like, maybe it looks like bringing in a yoga mat. Maybe it looks like bringing in sound instruments. Maybe it looks like crystals. Maybe it looks like Oreo cards, journals, your art, your paintings, like whatever it is, but start to, again, intention, start to charge where you live with a reminder that you live your life with intention. I've been traveling, this time, 5 months, right? And I'm like, I do this everywhere I go. The first thing I do, I land, I clean the space, I burn my sage, my Palo Santo, and I set up, we'll call it, for lack of better words, my altar, right? Mm-hmm. But it's that physical reminder that, like, I'm always home. I'm driving the energy in this place, not the other way around, right? And so your sacred space. The next thing I teach my clients to do is create a mindfulness practice, right? Mindfulness is about being present. So many times when we're stressed or depressed, like, we're holding on to the past, we're regretting the past, we're angry about the past, or we're worrying about the future, catastrophizing. What if this? What if that? Come back to the present moment. Come back to the breath. Come back to here, right? So there are different tools, of course. You can do meditation, which I love to do on the Insight Timer app. You were talking about cooking. You can cook with mindfully. Bring all of your attention to the love, to the colors of the food, to the smells, to the sounds, to the taste. Be there. There, I'm reading this little Buddha teaching book, and it's like wherever you are, be there fully. It's like when you're with your breakfast, be with the breakfast. Don't be with the problems of the world. Be with the breakfast, right? So really cultivating mindfulness practice. The third thing I invite into cultivating your spiritual practice is movement, right? We're going back to, we talked about that a little, like, trauma is stored in the body, right? So to work with trauma, you have to work with somatics. You have to work with this vessel. And, I tell people, and again, this is why there's no one size fits all. This is why I can't say, do these 3 steps. No, it doesn't work like that. I don't know. I tell my clients, look at your life through the lens of the elements. If you are overly in the masculine and you're fiery and you be cussing people out and you don't got no patience, do you think it's a good idea to add more fire to them? Do you think that's a good idea? Or you need to bring in a cooling practice, right?
Right. Yes.
But
I'm
also,
laughing because that was me. Always bringing in the fire.
Adding more fire.
Yes. Yes.
Right? If you're overly in the feminine and all you do is flow and you never follow through and you never get shit done, do you think you need to add a practice that's going to make you more in the flowy, or do you need to add some discipline? Right? So when you're thinking about your movement practice, you want to think about, there's so many. There's yoga, but even within yoga, if you want a more fiery practice, you have vinyasa. If you need a more cooling practice, you have a yin practice, right? If you need to activate discipline in that fire, get in the gym, move that energy, move that chi, pick up some weights, get on the treadmill, right? If you need to invite a more earth grounding practice, maybe you need to go earthing. You need to just go sit in the grass, go put your feet in the grass, go for a walk, do a yin practice where you're sitting in those poses for 2 minutes, right? So it's really, if you want to be more in your water element, maybe inviting dance, inviting intuitive movement, adding sensual movement, right? So, and again, you see how even this simple question invites self-discovery, right? Yeah. It invites, you have to be in touch with your intuition. If you're following a blueprint, that's not intuition. There's no co-creation. You know what happens when you get into these things that I'm sharing? And I'm so excited because this is like the simplest answer, but I'm like, simple doesn't mean powerful, right? It's like, when you start doing these practices, you know what happens? Again, you start remembering, you start feeling stuff. You start being like, Oh, I'm feeling, your body's like, oh, I'm tight there. Oh, I'm tense there. Oh, this feels juicy. Oh, I'm a little horny. Oh, I want to create. Oh, I want a partner. Oh, I miss people. You start to connect with your feelings, with your emotion. Maybe you start crying. Good, right? So bring in that movement practice. The next thing I invite to bring in, which is a little saucy, but is a pleasure practice. Okay.
Yeah.
It's always fascinating to me when I'm connecting with people and I'm like, what do you love to do? And they're like, I love to write poetry. And I'm like, great. When is the last time you wrote a poem? They're like, I haven't picked up the pen in 5 years. And I'm like, and you are wondering why you're not happy. You're wondering why you're depressed. You literally are not doing the thing that brings you joy, right?
Yeah.
So, it's like that quote where they say, like, and I forget where, but they like, if you go to a shaman, not a shaman, but like if you go to someone and and you say you're depressed and they're going to ask you, when is the last time you danced, right? It's like we have to cultivate a pleasure practice. And this is something probably high performers do specifically. Do not make your pleasure practice, it's not a reward. It's not, I get to be in my pleasure when. It's like, oh, I get to go to pole class after.
After
No.
work. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Don't have that conditional relationship with your pleasure. In fact, I believe do that first, right? So how are you being in your pleasure? And you may be like, Liz, Julissa, I don't even know what that means. Good. That's
Mm-hmm.
an invitation for you to get to know yourself. For me, travel is pleasure. That's why I'm in Colombia. I love to land in a new place and have to figure out the culture, the norms, the grocery store, the fruits, the food. I love that shit. It's like an adventure to me, right? I'm not a travel blogger. I'm none of those things. My inner child just loves to be traveling, right? So, what is it that brings you pleasure? Is it dance? Is it painting? Is it art? Is it nature? Is it staring at a mountain? And if so, how can you tap into that more daily? A daily practice. And then the last part is a writing practice, right? So I think writing and journaling is the most underrated tool to
Honestly.
get to know yourself, to change
Honestly.
your life, to get out of your own way, okay? To get out of your own bullshit as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm.
I was just thinking that the other day. I remember a time, y'all, I used to be a wild girl, but I remember a time when I always had a big ass bottle of liquor like this in my house. And when the bottle ran out, I went and bought another one. Like that was a real thing. Those days are over. But now my journals are like that. Like if my journal runs out, I have to go to the store. I'm like, my journal is the manifestation portal. It's my money maker. I don't move without a journal. Like I write every single day. I write how I'm feeling. I write my intention. I write what I'm doing. And I give thanks.
Yeah.
So, talking about co creating, when you develop that kind of spiritual practice, like, first of all, just do it and then send me a DM. Do it for 30 days. Send me a DM. Let me know what has shifted, right? But you start to connect with spirit, with everything around you, with smells, with scents, with music. You start to have these ideas, you start to have these desires, and once the channels, the thing is, once before we start doing this work, we're really closed. We're like, nah, that don't make sense. No, I'm not doing that. No, you got to tell me 3 times, spirit. I didn't hear you the first time you said it. When you start to open the channels, you don't question. You're like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Spirit said create a podcast. I'm going to create the podcast. Or like Spirit said,
It's more
um
trust.
there's more trust, there's more openness, there's not all this overthinking back and forth battle, right? And the last thing I'll say, for me, like, travel has really taught me about synchronicity and stuff like that. Like when I'm traveling, sometimes the angels and the miracles, like you cannot make this shit up. You're like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and like you'll
Mm-hmm.
meet an angel, you'll never see them again, right? They'll bless you, or this synchronicity will happen, right? This person will
Yeah.
tell you to go meet this person, or this will, and you're like, I can't make this stuff up. Like I can't make these blessings up. And it
Mm-hmm.
just does something to your heart. Like you just, even our connection, like the ways you helped me when I was in the darkness, it's like, how did I meet this angel?
Oh.
And you just give thanks and you just keep leaning in. You keep leaning in. The blessings are there.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, that was so so good. Thank you so much for blessing us with your pillars. Like guys, if y'all weren't I was taking notes, my friends. If y'all weren't taking notes, like honestly, because it is a beautiful reminder of wow, I just thank you so much, Liz. I You're bringing me back and I'm remembering. And for me, this time it's not like childhood per se, but when I first moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, this place was full of so much bliss and deep connected spirituality to the land. I would love spending time outdoors for hours, being in awe of like, oh my God, there's so much greenery here. There's so many trees. There's a huge lawn everywhere you go. Like similar to what I promise I'm gonna bring it back to where you were at, similar to what you said prior, the beginning of 2020, the pandemic, it wasn't bad for me either. I had just moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a time of actual like separation because the online world and media was so triggering. And I was so angry and, you know, being Latina, having light skin, so knowing my privileges there, and also being married to a dark skinned Jamaican man, like everything just got more real when everything was popping off at that time. And I remember like thinking about my future children and how they would be perceived in this world and all the things. And also me too, my friend, their families, they lost lives due to police brutality and things of that sort. So it was all just very. I was very angry at that time, and being in Charlotte, North Carolina, it was everything I needed to the point where I almost felt guilty for being in this blissful land of where not that it didn't exist, but what you're saying with like being mindful with the food in front of you while eating breakfast. It was like, yes, all this chaos is happening, and I'm also in front of this beautiful tree that's literally speaking to me. I'm also able to go on these long walks. And it was very much a time period of that. And so your 5 pillars, I wrote them down. Thank you for the remembering. Is what it's reminded me, lately in my spirituality, I feel like my timelines are like what's the correct word? Are like sinking, not sinking, they're like surging together. Past and like right now, it's like the manifestations that I said, the things that I just spoke out loud that I wasn't really manifesting. It was just like, oh, I would love, for example, when I first came to Charlotte, before I had kiddos and before I had a job, steady job, I was babysitting, nannying just to make ends meet. Well, because hubby got a job first down here. And if y'all don't know me, I'm also a jack of all trades. I could pick up any job. I could pick up any job and be really good at it. And so money, I was always a hard worker, and I would find a job somewhere somehow. And so I was doing some marketing for like a alcohol company, not Budweiser, one of those beer companies. I would do that on the side. That was really good money. I would do all the things, and I was babysitting and nannying on the side too. And I was in love with this beautiful family that I was taking care of, and they showed me so many things about what was possible here in North Carolina, of like their schooling, how different it was, how holistic it was. Like this little girl that I used to watch, she would dive into her classrooms barefoot. Their woodshop class was their like yearly activity for that part of schooling was to build their own playground with their own 2 hands. Like beautiful. And so me coming from New York, I'm over here doing this job that's paying me, I think they're paying me like 17 an hour, which was beautiful for me at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I get to learn about this family. I'm exploring the city of Charlotte. I'm getting to see all these things and like look at the schooling and all of that. And she was in this aerial class. When you like silk, when you do like twirls and stuff with that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, it would be so cool if when I have kids, if my daughter wants to do this, right? Because she was such a beast at it. And it was so like cool to watch her. And literally, last week, I got a foot massage at this place that I found only 13 minutes away from my house. And right next door, a hidden gem was an aerial center. And so little things like that, like I feel like my timelines lately, my spirituality has been showing up in that way where it's like things that I thought of in the past, it feels like
Mhm.
yesterday. And
Right.
it's just like,
And that's stuff you can't make up. Like that you look up and you're like even how you shared earlier, you were like, with the doula, not the doula, the Reiki master seeing the baby, seeing like, yeah, come, there's land. And then you're like, yeah, my kid is playing on the land. Or like, oh, we're seeing this aerial. And then you're like, wait, it's like, yes, the thing is here. It has appeared.
yes,
And that's what it's like. We're taught to believe like that's not real. Right? You're not taught to believe that with your word and your intention, you can create whatever you desire. Who gonna teach you that?
yeah.
Why are we gonna teach you that?
And so thank you for the remembrance of the reason why it's coming to life now. I didn't really, I wasn't like, oh, manifest, manifest. I want my daughter to be an Ariel. Like, no, I was playing. I was in a new land, North Carolina, coming from New York. I was babysitting a family that had so much love. In fact, their parents were divorced and they were the happiest family. They had such good communication, the mother and father. It was beautiful to witness. And so I was in love with life. Life was so invigorating at that time, which is what you're saying. The question was, how do you co-create? Right. And you're saying, well, play, be in tune, have fun, be mindful, all the things, create space, have a clear space. At that time, I had mad fucking space. We had just bought a house for dirt cheap, a 4-bedroom house. So here we are in the pandemic. Everybody in New York was cramped up in their apartments. And I have a 4-bedroom household with a husband. I don't got no kids. We had 4 fucking rooms to do God knows why. I had a yoga room just cause. You know, like like spaciousness. And even though my house is very packed right now because we have a full house, which I love, it's reminding me like declutter, Jalissa. Declutter and only keep what you need. So I want to thank you for the pillars that you shared and also just bringing it back full circle. Like the timeline surging for me, I feel like 2024 for me personally, and maybe some others that are listening too, I feel like it's bringing me back to 2020. It was the one of the best moments of my life. And so I just want to thank you, Liz, because I didn't, you didn't have to share those things with us. And I want to say something too. If y'all are hearing Liz's medicine, like you see how good she is with her teaching and her words, and I know you're being expanded in this episode. I have. I know you most definitely have. And so get on her, get on her socials, connect with Liz, go to when I was writing this down, I was like, oh, we have to go to her retreats. Her retreats are going to be so amazing. They are so amazing. I'm like, hello, this is where she thrives. So before we get there, I want to do what I always do in every single episode. So Liz, if you could take a moment, take a beat to just settle in and ask yourself, and please share with us, I feel so fortunate to have these, like, what is life? I get to have conversations like these and this is part of my work. Like, what? This was such a good conversation, And so settling into your body again and just please share with us. I always ask at the end a moment of vulnerability. We are doing so many things, and I know from the outside looking in, we can feel your leadership presence. We can honor that you do know your things. You don't have to read a book to know it. You know it internally, and that's powerful. And so even with that, it would look like, yo, Liz has got it together. She's got this business. She's in Colombia. All these things, from the outside looking in, and I'm always real with my audience of like when I'm having my bad days or months or whatever. And so can you share with us something that has been really hard for you to grasp onto at this time?
Ooh, yes. I love vulnerability. So, it's funny you say that because actually that's something I've been like navigating being here. Like, it's been really challenging. Like, when I first got here, it was really hard, really challenging, super emotional. Like, my fears were super irrational. And now I'm settling in and now I'm kind of sad. I'm like, I only have 1 month. I've been here for 2 months. Where did the time go? I'm going to miss everyone.
Wow.
Right.
Much
But,
love.
um, something I realized was that it's so trippy. Like we have these brands and all these things, and it's like it doesn't matter. Like people are gonna have their assumptions. Like people are just like, "You're in Colombia. You're living your best life. You're glowing." I'm like, I am in Colombia. There are there's amazing community here, and there's a lot of other shit happening in my life. Like I'm scared or I'm crying all the time or I'm ungrounded and it's like I had this thing where I was like, it's so trippy. Like it's like it doesn't matter what you say. Like people are just they're gonna have their perception, or it's like, do people ask me how I'm doing? Nobody asks me how I'm doing, right? It's like you're running a brand, you're great, and so
Mhm.
but I mean last night I was sitting here crying. I'm always crying. I'm a crybaby. Like, and it's like, you try to be vulnerable. Like I think I'm vulnerable in my brand, but there's still but so much you can show. But I think one of a fear that I really had was, so I quit my job in 2019, which is insane. But sometimes I've had times when I'm traveling. A lot of times I'm very like, I can be an extremist. I can be like, I'm traveling, fuck the business, or I can be like going ham on my business and it's like travel where, right? And so I spent
Mhm.
like, I kind of did this like, oh, I'm traveling, I'm in Peru, and then I'm back in New York with my parents. Oh, I'm traveling in Peru, I'm back with my parents. So actually coming to Colombia, the past few years, I've only been going to Peru and Mexico and New York. So this is like me expanding, but I was very afraid to like travel and run my business and be in a mastermind, right? Like be in a
Mhm.
$2,500 a month mastermind, run my business and travel. Like so many variables, so many moving parts. You got to bring in money, clients, and I'm like, Liz, you've been doing it for 5 months. And like this past month was like my second highest cash month in business
Yeah.
ever. And I'm like, but sometimes it's like, but that came with a lot of like, it's been a lot. But I just wish we would get more comfortable with duality. Like stop romanticize. Nothing is it's both and. It is
Yeah.
both and. It's
Yeah.
amazing and hard. It's
Yes.
fun and scary. Like it's
Yes.
not, there is no one living their best life. Like can we all just stop? Like, and I think like it's
Keep
really
going. Keep
both.
going.
And I'm like, please, I need us to get on board with that because it's no, it's not either or. It's both this and that. So I'm like, actually, after my last retreat last year, I did a whole post. I was like, take everybody off the pedestal. I'm not a spiritual
Mhm.
mentor. I'm not a guru. I'm not a curandera. I'm not a medicine woman. I'm Liz motherfucking Jones. I grew up in the hood
Yes.
in Brooklyn, in the worst neighborhood in Brooklyn, and I'm sharing my journey. I'm
Mhm.
holding the space, I'm sharing the sound, but let's take everybody off of the pedestal. Everybody,
Yeah.
take them off. Travel doesn't solve all your problems. I think people think they're like, your problems, Vamoosh. No.
Or money. Or money.
Or money. That's another one.
That's a big
I've been
one.
getting that lesson as well. I'm like, you'll get the money and feel empty. Fix your life. Like,
Yeah. So I was shaking this for those that are watching on YouTube. I was shaking this paper while Liz was talking because literally after one of my breakthroughs, I said, and I underlined it, stop pretending that it's easy because it's not. And the and thing, yes, I said here, share the work that it takes to get here and to maintain this lifestyle that you've achieved. Because don't get me wrong, I would not trade my life, my work, my life's calling for anything. I am happy, fully feel called to do this work, which that alone is priceless because there's so many of us, and I used to be one of them, who are doing the day to day unhappy, right? So even though we're crying and there's tears and we're lost, I believe it's, and you can tell me if this resonates with you, is because we're on the path of expansion kind of constantly, and we do have our moments for rest and digest where we do calm and center and ground, but I really do believe that we're on a path of acceleration, hence why my healthy high performers, right? We have to, it's, and we got to do both. If you want this lifestyle, and for me it's not like, oh, copy what I'm doing, have babies back to back, like run, like no that's not what I'm saying, right? But whatever your dream life is, have the clarity, the spaciousness, and the courage to actually live that life. That's why I'm crying sometimes, because it's fucking hard, because I am saying yes to the calling, I am saying yes to this life, and there's no one clearing the path for me. It's me,
right, right. But I
you
also want to,
know.
or I want to say, like, also though, just because I don't know, I've been saying like it'll be simple, but it will require effort, right? It's like just because something is uncomfortable or requires effort, that doesn't mean you're not on the right path. I think we get it trippy because they're like flow and ease. And it's like, yes, like there should be synchronicities, there should be alignment. The guides are going to come, the teachers are going to come, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. I don't like the word hard, but if you're doing something bold, right? You move into another country, you're quitting your job. It's the most exciting thing. But after the fact, it's
Yeah.
scary until you do it. And so again, let's create room for dual. Let's create more space in the nervous system to hold both and I think that's what's been feeling really good for me is I'm finally learning how to be with it all, because before, again, it was too swingy. It was like I'm depressed or I'm happy, and it's like, no, it's like I tell people I experience every emotion in a day. I'm happy, I'm
Yeah.
sad, I'm crying, I'm joyful, I'm laughing, and I stopped making that mean anything. Like I I'm human. I'm here and I'm experiencing the full range of these emotions without numbing it with Hennessy.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, Liz. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. Like, honestly, it just keeps getting better and better. Like, this was one of the best interviews I think that we've had on the show. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you for the
Um,
invitation.
Absolutely. How can we connect with you? What's coming up? Please let us know.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. I love and honor you and your work and everything you create. So you can find me on social media at by Liz Jones. So BY Liz Jones, LIZJONES. And yeah, on there you'll find all of this, all the vibes of travel and being a nomad and doing entrepreneurship in a intuitive way. I'm super excited. We are about to launch my signature retreat, which is my favorite offer. It's called the Get Grounded Goddess Retreat, and it happens in your homeland in the Sacred Valley of Peru. And this is a safe space. It's for BIPOC people, it's for LGBTQIA people, and it's just to really make, my intention is one, to activate rest. So create that space for you to be with the land, be with nature. And really, I always say, my ideal clients are like Captain Saba hoes and pouring to everyone else. And so this is the time to like really be unapologetic about your rest. We really dive into play. And so really being in that energy of reconnecting with play and your inner child, and then the divine feminine energy, right? So the divine feminine, she wants to rest, she wants to create. So it's a vibe. We do sound healing, yoga, plant medicine, hiking, zip lining, Machu Picchu. Like it's
Oh,
just
beautiful.
um I love Peru. It's a magical place. It's a medicinal place. And so if you're in that space, you can apply to join us. If you got questions, send me a DMs. I love to connect with y'all. Yeah, that's what we got going on.
Wow. Thank you so much, Liz. That if you, you need to get on it because that sounds beautiful. When do you know when you guys are going?
Yeah, so December 3rd
Oh,
to
nice.
the 10th.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. So you know where to find her. Thank you, Liz, so so much. It was a beautiful healing conversation for me as well. So thank you, and we will chat soon. Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.